Oh my god. Mickey. Oh, you're so precious. You're so pretty. I wish I could show you on camera. Maybe he might. There's my cat. Say hello. Hey guys, it's Divinity Dolls, aka Justin here, and I know it's been a while since I've posted on this channel, and I do apologize for the infrequent video posting. I've been kind of dealing with a lot of stuff IRL and also just online, mental health struggles, and also just a bunch of projects that have kept me away from making YouTube videos for a while. But I figured for this year that I would start off fresh and not only rebrand my channel, but also continue making YouTube content again, since I really did miss making these types of videos. Usually I would be coming back to these types of videos with a deep dive about like an obscure doll brand or whatnot. This is actually going to be something really fun that I've been planning on doing for a while now. I originally wanted to do a series of me talking about a mix of old releases and also some new releases. But considering there's so many channels out there that already talk about new releases when it comes to dolls, I figured I'd give it a bit of a twist. And I decided that I'm going to be talking about whatever dolls that are on my mind as of late. And this is going to be a bi-monthly series, so that means it's going to be released every 2 months. And I'm going to be starting off with the months of January and February of 2026. The name of the series is going to be Dolls, 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 which is pretty self-explanatory because it's just going to be me rambling about dolls, so I don't really think I need to say anything else. So how this works is I'm going to be talking about 5 dolls for each month, and this could be really any type of doll. This could be a new release, as mentioned before. It could be an old release. It could be one singular character from any doll line. It could be an entire line or an entire collection of dolls. It could be really any sort of thing. It could even be fashion packs. You never know. I'm gonna try to diversify my series and try to talk about, stuff that I've been wanting to talk about, or dolls that people have asked me about, or whatnot. And I'm also going to try my best to include some new releases that people have already talked about, but maybe put my own 2 cents into them, if that makes sense. And with some of the older doll releases, I might kind of ramble about general memories that I've had with them, because I have included some dolls from my childhood that I absolutely love and cherish with my heart. So if you guys would like to suggest some dolls, or maybe even like a specific doll in question for me to talk about in these future videos, let me know and I'll try to include them, maybe if I find them interesting or not. But anyways, I'm going to move over a little bit here and then we'll get into it. So we're starting off with the month of January of 2026. And I have 5 dolls that I would like to talk about that have been on my mind since January. So the first doll that I would like to talk about is the ever so iconic Francie. So Francie is a character that was originally introduced by Mattel in 1966, so she is an oldie but a goodie. And she was made during the time when the British invasion was really big at this time. The swinging 60s, swinging London. The Beatles had just broke America and had become a huge sensation over here. And along with that, there was also a bunch of other British bands that became really successful and kind of gained a huge legacy. And it wasn't just British artists, it was also the aesthetic, it was the fashion. Even supermodels like Twiggy and Jean Shrimpton were becoming really big household names over here. And to capitalize off of that, Mattel released a character named Francie, who was portrayed as Barbie's mod cousin. And I love Francie so much. I think she is so precious. I always loved the like kind of cutesy, innocent look. Like, she's very youthful, but she's also very cool and very fashionable. And I would love to own at least one Francie in my collection. So Francie started out with like a multitude of different like fashion packs that were heavily influenced by British fashion and like mod fashion. and she would have multiple different doll releases. There was, of course, the classic Francie. There was the one with like the twist and turn waist. There was the ones with the bend and snap knees. There would be Black Francie, who was also a very culturally significant doll since she was Mattel's first black doll before Christie. There was Happen in Hair Francie, Malibu Francie, and she even had a bunch of friends, such as Casey, and she had her own unique head sculpt, and that head sculpt would later be reused for Mattel's official Twiggy doll. Francie would be discontinued sometime around the mid to late 70s, but she would make her reappearance as a reproduction around 1996 with the release of the 30th anniversary reproduction of her doll, and she was reproduced with, I believe, her original outfit in one of the fashion packs that came out during her first year. And she's the only doll that I'm currently probably able to afford because unfortunately I am not a very expensive collector, and she's the only one that I feel like I could afford and keep in my collection. I do wish they produced a version with blonde hair, but I do think brunette Francie is also really stunning. And a lot of the other reproductions that have been produced over the years, especially the Silkstone Francies, are also really beautiful. But again, also very expensive. The original dolls are also pretty expensive, but I mean, it's a given considering they are 50 to 60 years old, so it makes sense. But yeah, we love Francie in this household. I do plan on making a video about her in the future, but as of now, here she is. My next doll line for January is a doll line I'm actually discussing for a big video that I'm working on, and that is the Holly Hobbie and Friends doll line. So for people who may be a little young and may not know who Holly Hobbie was was originally a greeting cards character that originally was introduced by American Greetings in the late 60s, and kind of similar to other brands like Care Bears and Strawberry Shortcake, she kind of turned into a big franchise where she would also have dolls. Holly Hobbie would go through a bunch of reboots over the years, and the one that I'm discussing here and in the next video is the Holly Hobbie and Friends reboot from 2006. It's more or less just one particular line from this reboot, and it is the Design My Style dolls. And these dolls were designed by Mattel in collaboration with American Greetings. I actually do own one of the dolls from this line. This is Carrie. I bought her off eBay a month ago, and oh my god, she is so cute. I love her. I would have loved this doll as a kid. So in the lineup, there's 3 characters. There's Holly, who's the main character. Amy, who's kind of like the short, kind of redhead, slightly racially ambiguous one. And then the doll I have is Carrie, who's of course the black girl. So the whole concept around these dolls was that each doll came with like a sort of gimmick that revolved around their clothes or revolved around decorating. And Carrie's gimmick was that she came with these rhinestone stickers where you could like decorate her whole outfit. And I believe the outfit's materials is kind of made out of a specific material where you could like stick stickers onto her a little easy. And she also comes with this little duct tape roller that I think is meant to apply like specific stickers on her. If I remember correctly, Holly's doll had like a beading gimmick where you could like put beads in her hair and on her outfit, and I think you could also apply sequins through this like little machine sort of thing. And Amy's doll came with a little mist where you could like spray water onto her outfit and it changes into like a tie-dye sort of look. And it really just depends on the different temperature of water. I don't remember what temperature did what to the outfit, but I do know that depending on what temperature, it could change to tie-dye or it could change to like a plain fabric. And each doll also came with a little chair. Right there, there's Carrie's. And I think you could also decorate them, and it's versatile as the little packaging says. And I believe these also came with little fashion packs. I have not been able to find Carrie's. I think Carrie's is right there. Yeah, it's right there. That's Carrie's. And there's also a bunch of other products that were released. So there's like mini dolls. There's like a little play set where you can make like snow cones. And then there's also some plush animals of their pets. Again, I'm doing a whole video about the Holly Hobbie and Friends franchise, so do stay tuned for that. And if any of you would like to actually see a review of this particular doll, let me know and I will do it, because I want to take her out of the box and play around with her, because I just think she is so precious. Like, look at that precious little face. There you go. I mean, that is just... Mattel just doesn't do this type of quality anymore. It's so sad to see. Oh, I just love her. I love her. I'm hitting my microphone. Whoops. The next doll line that we're going to be discussing from January is J Dolls, and these were produced by June Planning, later Groove, in 2007. Some people may know these companies' names, as these are the companies that produced pull-up dolls. And these were kind of I wouldn't say spin-off line, but kind of like another line that was produced by the company. The whole idea around these dolls was that they're all fashion models from different parts of the world, and a lot of the dolls' names are actually named after specific places from a specific country that they're based off of. So, for instance, there's a doll named Melrose Avenue, who's of course named after the famous neighborhood in Los Angeles. So since they are produced by the same company, they actually do share the same body mold. At least the 2007 and 2008 dolls have the same body as the Type 3 pull-ups. And based on personal research, I've heard the Type 3 pull-up bodies are not great, especially when it comes to durability. I've heard their wrists are really fragile to the point where they're prone to breaking. So if you do own a J doll from 2007 or 2008, be careful. And from 2009 up until the brand's discontinuation in 2013, the dolls would use the Type 4 pull-up body, which I've heard is a lot better in comparison, so that's a relief. I believe my first introduction to J doll was the YouTuber Darling Dolls, who included them in their top 10 underrated doll lines video, and I think that's when my love for this line really started. Again, I love the fact that they're very high fashion, they're very detailed. You could definitely tell that there was a lot of quality that was put into their clothes, and they have this like almost high fashion, almost couture element to them, which I absolutely love. Some of my favorite dolls in this lineup include Andrassy Avenue, which is named after a neighborhood in Budapest, Hungary, and of course is very much styled after that city. Joseph Splatz, who I believe is named after a neighborhood in Germany. And then Takashita Street, which is of course named after the street in Harajuku. If you compare them to pull-ups on the secondhand market, their prices are not as bad. There's some that do go for quite a bit online, but I think for the most part you'll find some that are relatively inexpensive. They're still a little expensive, but not so bad to the point where they'd probably rob you of your entire wallet. I would definitely recommend looking, or at least saving, specific dolls that you really like, or maybe just looking at particular ones that maybe interest you the most, and maybe go from there. I would love to own one in my collection, considering this would be my first introduction into, you know, the pull-up dolls quality, even though it's not really a pull-up doll. It's from the same company, so I mean, it kind of is, kind of isn't. Who's to say? Alrighty, fourth doll line of January. I'm going to be discussing a doll line from Mattel, and it's a Barbie line. These are the Barbie Passport Collection dolls, and these were designed by fashion designer Byron Lars, who actually started designing Barbie dolls around 1997. And in my personal opinion, I think his designs are probably some of my favorites when it comes to Barbie collector dolls. You definitely can tell his style just from the way that his dolls look. His designs definitely do take a lot of influence from Black culture, and it's really reflective in a lot of the dolls that he produced for Mattel. And these are probably some of the best collector Barbies, I think, up there, especially with like the Bob Mackie dolls. From the gorgeous head sculpts to the really intricate hairstyles, to a lot of the beadwork that's really in a lot of these outfits. And funnily enough, one of the dolls that he designed was actually the origin of the Mibbley head sculpt, which is of course the Mibbley doll, which was released in 2002. So the dolls that I've included that were designed by him are the Passport Collection, which I believe were some of the last dolls that he designed for Mattel. And these ran from about 2009 to 2011 and had about 3 dolls released. I believe the concept around these dolls is that they're either biracial women who are kind of wearing outfits inspired by their culture, or they're just women that study abroad to a specific country and then wear an outfit inspired by that country's culture. I'm more or less obligated to believe the first theory I had because the doll Ayako Jones, the name Ayako is a traditional Japanese name, so this woman is biracial to me. Speaking of Ayako, the first doll that was released is Ayako Jones, who is half black, half Japanese, and I really do love these dolls. I don't think they're as good as some of his earlier work, but even then, I still think they're absolutely gorgeous and just so amazing. These dolls retailed for about $100 and I believe were gold label dolls. And of course, they started out with Ayako. And then in 2010, there would be the doll Charmaine King, who is, I believe, of Monogonese ancestry, or like is half black, half Monogonese, something like that. Her doll reminds me a lot of Chandra from the Sew and Style line in terms of the screening, and the fact that both dolls share the same head sculpt, which is the Mibuli head sculpt. Nonetheless, I absolutely love this doll. I think she's so beautiful. I love the white and gold. I love the chains. I love the little headpiece that she has on. She's just so breathtaking. And then the final doll, and I think the most expensive from the collection, is Fenella Layla. And she was released in 2011, and I believe is of Nigerian and Scottish ancestry. Her doll is probably the most eclectic of the three, and it's mostly because of the fact that her silhouette is very high fashion. There's a lot of patterns going on. There's some tartan, there's some cheetah print, there's a lot of animal print, there's a lot of prints going on, and I do like her, but she's not my personal favorite, mostly because I do think her look is a little messy, but I definitely see the vision behind her. And again, I do think she's a very beautifully designed doll. I don't think I'll be able to collect any of these because, again, they retailed for $100 back in the day, and they've risen up quite a lot over the years.
What did you expect?
I think the most I've seen, especially if it's like Fenella, probably like $1,000, which for a collector like me, nope, practically unlikely for me to own these dolls. Maybe one day someone will hook me up with a doll collector and just give me these dolls. Very unlikely, but again, they're very nice, and you know, we really do have to give Byron Lars his flowers because he designed some of the best dolls for Mattel, and that's a fact. These dolls, no exception. And the last doll line that I'm going to be discussing for January is actually a new release. It is the Bratz Pop Stars line, and these were produced by MGA and released, I believe, in December of 2025. I'm thinking they were probably intended for January of this year, but I guess they just got released early. This line includes all four of the main girls. We have Chloe, Yasmin, Sasha, and Jade. And they're all dressed in different fashions that you could definitely tell they took a lot of influence from the Live in Concert line, which is one of my favorite Bratz lines of all time. And I definitely think that they kind of put a new spin onto that line and kind of made each character, I guess you could say, their own styles. So Yasmin and Sasha probably have the more indistinguishable style. They're definitely more pop, but I think you could definitely tell they could also fit into like R&B or dance, Sasha especially, but I really do love them. I really honestly like all the dolls from this line. So they cost about $26.99 as of now. I've yet to spot them in stores. I would love to own them. I think Chloe might be my favorite because I just love the fact that she has a very punk rock, almost Avril Lavigne type of vibe going on with her. I love the plaid. I love the combat boot heels. And yeah, I just really think she's a cute doll. She kind of reminds me of like an updated version of her Girls Really Rock doll. Jade definitely is my least favorite in terms of the outfit. I believe she's meant to be inspired by country music. I don't really see it aside from the cowboy boots and the ribbon in her hair. I kind of feel like her outfit is a little bit too safe, but that mug is intense, and she just has an absolutely gorgeous face, so I mean, I can excuse it. Yasmin's doll definitely is a little predictable, at least in my opinion. That doesn't mean she's a bad doll, because I do still really like her. She is really giving strong Arianka vibes with the ponytail, and the fact that she has this like pink sort of color scheme going on. Very classic Ariana Grande, if you ask me. And then Sasha, I just love Sasha in purple. Like, really, you can't go wrong with Sasha in purple. Just absolutely beautiful line. Along with this, MGA also released an album to promote the dolls, which is something I love to see. They released an album called Bratz Angels, which features different songs, including solos for each girl. I haven't listened to the full thing yet, but if you haven't already, go listen to it, go stream it. Hopefully they release it on CD because we need physical media for Bratz again. Like, we need that album on CD. MGA, if you're watching this, please release this album physically. Thank you. That's all I'm asking for. And now on to February, which is the month I'm recording this video. And the doll line that I'm going to be starting off February is a line I'm very conflicted on, honestly. I don't know how I feel about them personally. I don't even know why I even included them in this video, if I'm going to be honest with you. They're a really odd doll line. They're very obscure. I don't really see a lot of people talk about them, maybe for good reason. It is the Only Hearts Club dolls by OHC Group LLC, and I believe these were released in approximately 2004, maybe a little bit before or after that, I'm not sure. This doll line was released as a wholesome alternative to doll lines of the time like Barbie or Bratz, but they weren't really aggressively marketed as such, which I have no problem with. I feel like there is definitely a market for dolls that are aimed for specifically younger kids or maybe people that don't really love Bratz or even Barbie. And I think that whole concept is not bad in theory, but my main issue is that the dolls themselves look not great, I'm gonna be honest with you. They just have these really weird faces. They're like maybe about the same size as a Bratz, maybe a little shorter. I don't own one, so I can't really show you or compare. They have these like really weird faces. They have these like inset eyes that honestly just look really beady and it kind of creep me out a bit. Some of them even smile, which isn't really helping matters in their case. And as if that's not bad enough, they also have these really weird bodies. I don't even know how you would describe these. I think there's like wires in their articulation, but they have this like cloth body for the most part, except for their hands and I think in some instances their feet. I don't know. Whenever I just look at these dolls, I want to appreciate them, but at the same time, they just look so goddamn ugly. I just don't know how to feel about them because, again, the concept isn't bad, and I do like the fact that these dolls aren't really marketed aggressively as like anti-Bratz or anti-Barbie, but they aren't the prettiest either. They do seem like really nice quality dolls, and I do like the fact that they do have a lot of like accessories that do feature like real fabric, like furniture or whatnot. But I just don't really like the dolls themselves. If I were to get one, maybe I'd just steal her for her clothes. Apparently, these were sold in Target around the mid to late 2000s, but I certainly do not remember them in Target when I was a kid, so they probably passed by me. Who's to say? They stopped selling them sometime around maybe 2010, maybe a little bit before or after that, I don't know. I know they had like some media released, they had like a website, they had books. I certainly don't remember any of that. And apparently around 2020, they actually had plans to reboot them, but this time in an American Girl size. And I've seen them, and they look cute, but from what I can tell, it didn't really seem to garner much fanfare. And it seemed like maybe a little bit after that, the website kind of just went super quiet, and I don't think any dolls were ever released. So, who's to say about the brand's current status? All I can really say is, if you like these dolls, good for you. I am still kind of torn on them. I don't know. I'm just I'm not sure if I like them or not. This next one is funnily enough a last minute addition. I had another doll line before them, but I ultimately decided to include these girls because I just thought that they were just more interesting, and I feel like not a lot of people talk about them. It is the Barbie Sea Pixies Mermaid to Fairy dolls. So these are from 2007. The whole Barbie Sea Pixies line seemed like somewhat of a successor to the Barbie Fairytopia line. I don't actually know if they were intended to be Barbie Fairytopia dolls or not, or if they were just meant to be a continuation just under a different moniker. But there were a bunch of different dolls for this release, but I'm specifically talking about the deluxe set of sorts, which is the Mermaid to Fairy dolls. And these ones, I believe, do have like a removable tail and also removable wings, so you could change them from Mary. I'm keeping that in the video. I'm going insane! So you could change them from fairy to mermaid. Again, I don't remember seeing these dolls in stores. Maybe I was just too young. But I've seen pictures of them recently, and I honestly think they're really pretty. They kind of remind me of like a love child between the Mattel Winx Club dolls and the Mycene dolls. And I think it's mostly because the eyes on these remind me a lot of the post bling Mycene dolls, where it's a little bit slanted and a little bit more like sultry. But they're fairies, or mermaids, depending on how you dress them. I have not been able to find one on eBay. They're pretty hard to find, so I'm not exactly sure if they're sought after or if they're just super expensive, or maybe they just weren't produced much. I don't know, but I would love to find one. And if any of you guys know any listings of these two dolls, so there's a pink one and a purple one, let me know and I'll look at it and see if I'll be able to purchase it. If not, then hey, at least you tried. The next series of dolls that I'm going to be discussing for February is a childhood favorite of mine. I used to love these dolls as a kid. It is the Barbie Peekaboo Petites, aka Barbie Mini Bee dolls by Mattel. So these were released in 2008, originally as Barbie Peekaboo Petites, and I already knew the moment that I saw the commercial that I loved these dolls because I used to love any form of miniature doll. I mean, Polly Pocket was my shit as a kid, and I already knew that I was going to be collecting quite a bit of these, and I don't think I was entirely wrong. I did collect quite a few of the Barbie Peekaboo Petites. This isn't really Barbie and her friends as like mini dolls. It's more or less just kind of a series of dolls with like different names that are released under the Barbie name. And they're these little tiny dolls that come in like these little like different keychains of sorts. I don't really know how you would describe them, but like you wear them around your neck, or sometimes they would be like, they would come in rings, or sometimes they'd be like a bracelet or whatnot. They have a very pastel, very cutesy color palette, and I just love how precious they are. Like, I would just have like a whole collection of these and I would be happy. I remember owning a couple of these. I think I had one of like the 2-packs. I think it was like a slumber party set with these two characters. I don't remember any of their names. I believe it was like a Dolls of the World type of Barbie Peekaboo Petites. And I believe I also had one of the Barbie, it was like a classics line where it was all of the characters, but they were all like iconic Barbies throughout the years. And I think I also owned like a mermaid Barbie Peekaboo Petite as well. I don't really see a lot of people talk about these, and I think it's sad because maybe this is just me caring about them because I just love mini dolls that you just kind of wear as accessories. The Barbie Peekaboo Petites line did have quite a few dolls, and they were all numbered. They originally started out with names and then slowly shifted to just being numbered dolls. And sometimes some of the dolls would actually be collabs with different franchises like Hello Kitty or The Wizard of Oz. And in 2010, it went through a bit of a rebranding, and the dolls were now called Barbie Mini Bee and featured a more 2010s like pink glitter, kind of that Barbie core aesthetic that the 2010s Barbie was known for. And the dolls from this Mini Bee era definitely reflected that. There was a lot more pink, there was a lot more sparkles, and they still looked adorable. They still had these really cute play sets. I had one of the ones, I think it was like this purple doll. I don't remember what the play set was, but it was stunning. I just know that for sure. And I had a bunch of like the little rings, the ones that were sold in rings. I remember getting them from school as a prize. So the school that I went to when I was super young had these little tickets, and if you were good that day, you would earn a ticket. And depending on how many tickets you had, you could actually get something from the prize box. And I remember so many of the Barbie Mini Bees were in that box, and I'm pretty sure I still have a couple of them. I don't know where they are. They're probably downstairs in storage, who knows? It seemed like maybe around 2011, the brand wasn't really gaining much success, and then ultimately Mattel discontinued them, which is understandable. but I still miss them, and I might start collecting them since they are pretty inexpensive on the secondhand market, so maybe you might see more reviews of these, I don't know.
Peekaboo, so Barbie, so new. What a doll, I wanna play with you. Peekaboo, peekaboo, it's a game for two. It's a game I wanna play with you. Peekaboo.
Okay, second to last doll line for February, I have the iCarly dolls by Playmates, and this is specifically the special edition dolls of Carly and Sam. So I used to be a big iCarly fan when I was a kid. I used to watch the show all the time on Nickelodeon. I believe I watched it the moment it premiered in 2007, and since then, it was always like a show that I grew up with. I don't watch the show anymore, mostly because I don't really feel comfortable watching any sort of project revolving around Dan Schneider for obvious reasons. But anyways, I do remember seeing these dolls. I never owned either of them. I do know that these dolls were maybe around maybe the size of a Bratz doll. I did recently rediscover these dolls thanks to some conversations I had with one of my friends, and we brought these dolls up in a conversation, and I think looking back, these dolls are really nice, especially from Playmates, whose dolls, especially now, aren't really that great. They do look like Sam and Carly, even though maybe they're a little bit more stylized, and some could argue that Sam's doll doesn't really resemble Jeanette McCurdy, but that's okay. I still think they come across as Sam and Carly, especially from the outfits too. And these dolls also came with second outfits that were based on different looks from the show. And these ones look a little cheap, a little costumey, but I guess that was kind of the point. Sam's outfit was based off of this look she wore from the I Quit iCarly episode, and Carly's second outfit was based off the look that she wore in the I Fight Shelby Marks episode, which is the little boxer outfit. There were also a bunch of other dolls released for the iCarly line by Playmates. There was this big Carly doll that talked, and there was also these mini dolls, which I'm guessing was kind of like their version of the Pinky Street dolls, or the Avatar Star Sue dolls, depending on which version you grew up with. But yeah, iCarly dolls exist, and honestly, I'm not mad at them. On to the last doll that I'll be talking about in this video. This is another pretty recent one. This one is from 2022. This is a doll I've been on the look for a while now, but I haven't really found her for a good price. If you know anyone who's selling this doll, or maybe if you're selling this doll yourself and like you want to reach out to me, let me know. This last doll that I'm mentioning is from Series 4 of Rainbow High. It is the Jewel Richie doll. I have always wanted Jewel from this line. I always thought that this doll was gorgeous. I do have some of the other dolls from Series 4. I have Mina. Apologies, I know she looks like a mess. I haven't restyled her yet, so she still has the crunchy gel in her hair. I have Coco, who I have restyled, and she's kind of giving like biker spy babe going on, and I just love her. She's so fierce. And then my favorite from Series 4, which is Delilah, and I wouldn't say I restyled her, but I definitely did kind of give her a cute little makeover. Look at her, she's so precious. I'm currently on the search for Jewel, and I've always really liked Jewel. I know she isn't the strongest of Series 4, but I still think nonetheless she still is a really gorgeous doll, especially considering this is from Rainbow High's prime era. I don't normally love sequins on dolls, but I do think she's one of the few examples where she pulls it off. And, you know, for being one of the few dolls to have vitiligo, I actually think they did a good job with how they did it on her doll. I will say there have been some versions of this doll where the quality control wasn't always great, and I think that's the reason why I never got her, because anytime I tried to look for her, there was always something going on regarding like her face paint, and it was always really something related to quality control, like her lips were smudged, or maybe there was just something going on with her face paint. The only time I do remember finding a somewhat perfect Jewel Richie doll was at Macy's, I think. Yeah, Macy's. They had one in stock. I don't think we had money at the time, but I saw her and I just thought that she was so pretty. And then the last time we went there, she was not there, so she sold out, and I was really sad about it. I'm still looking for her as of 2026. Again, if she's new, if she's used, just as long as she has all of her items, I'm fine with that. Again, if you guys are selling her, if you know anyone who is selling her, let me know, and hopefully I'll be able to find her. I'm manifesting that I'll find Jewel in 2026 because I don't collect Rainbow High as much as I used to, but she is one of the few dolls I am on the search for, so wish me luck. But yeah, that's the first episode of Dolls, Dolls, Dolls. Let me know what you guys thought of it. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. And again, if you have any suggestions for future doll lines that I can cover, either in this series or even just a full deep dive, let me know in the comments below. Check me out on social media. Links will all be in the description. And again, it's been so long and I really do want to make these videos more often. I'm so sorry that I've just been so inactive. Just stuff's been crazy. But that's very much it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any suggestions for future videos, let me know. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day or night. And I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye.